Raptors fought right till the end in this one, but ultimately come up short late against Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers. 105-100 is your final. Raps record now 27-39 on the season as we welcome you inside Raptors Night Cap. Randy Urban alongside Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones, and the coach, Jack Armstrong. Jacko, we'll start with you tonight. No Lowry, no OG, no Trent, no Boucher. So this was really an impressive game for the Raptors in my mind.
No, I thought they played their hearts out. And they were the aggressor. When they had a few moments of turbulence, they counterpunched beautifully. They fought back. They played their hearts out. I mean, the bottom line is, they had 18 points in the fourth quarter. They just ran out of gas. And, you look at this trip against Denver and Utah and here against the Clippers tonight, just come up a little short. You mentioned those four guys you're missing. I mean, but Jonesy and I were chatting about this a little bit at halftime. It's like, but the process is there. Like you're seeing good things. They're doing good things. The ball's moving the right way offensively. They're spacing, all that stuff. Defensively, they're trying to do the right stuff. So if you're a fan of the game, you're looking and saying, I like their spirit. I like their togetherness. I like all the stuff they're doing. They just don't have enough guys. But nonetheless, it was an excellent game, well played. And so I don't walk out of here. I'm disappointed they lost, but I'm not disappointed at all in terms of what they tried to do. That's what, and sometimes you lose.
Yeah. And Sherman, what strikes me is the lack of fear, that this team has, despite all the guys that are not in the lineup and trying to amalgamate all these young guys.
Yeah, and I would say that the young guys have no fear at all. You look at
None.
Jalen Harrison this game. I thought he was excellent. I mean, he made a big three late in the game. Nick Nurse showed a lot of confidence in him, putting him out there late in the game. But throughout the game, you just saw the young man grow. And Malachi Flynn didn't have the greatest game, but we've seen him as well just play with confidence. But this is, to me, what Freddie and Kyle do when they're on the floor. They bring that toughness and that leadership, and they allow guys to understand that they'll go out there and swing, just fight with them. And I thought that overall, I thought the Raptors played a very good game. They played tough. They were aggressive. The Clippers shoot over 50%, but they were good at moments when they needed to be defensively and created turnovers. And offensively, I thought they kept on swinging. They just didn't have enough left in the tank. But there is no fear in this squad. They play aggressively. They're going to attack. They're not going to quit. And that's the beauty of this team. Whether they win or lose, you usually walk away feeling like they put up a fight in the game. It's very rare that you walk away thinking that they didn't have it completely on any level.
Jonesy, what stood out to you?
Exactly what Sherman and Jack were talking about, the fight. And they're not afraid. I mean, like I said, four guys on this team have had their hands on the ultimate prize. And I mean, Fred VanVleet doesn't look like a guy who's afraid. Neither does Pascal. Kyle has never played like that. So that's infectious. It spreads to the rest of the team. Like, hey, man, I know we're down or we don't have everybody here, but who wants to get in there and throw punches? Who wants to get in there and play? And as Jack said, they counterpunched beautifully. They held the lead for a while. Nick Nurse was quick with the timeouts. He made subs in the fourth quarter. He wasn't going to let it get away from them. Sherman and I talked about this on the radio. It came down to, something you do in practice, a 2-minute game where one team's up by a few points, everybody's shooting bonus. Let's play it out and see what happens. And if you could point to one or two things, the decision by Pascal where he took the charge. Does he throw it ahead to Khem Birch? Does he trust his big guy to handle it from that far out? Does he make the decision himself? Does he jump stop and shoot the short jumper? Sherm talked about it. Paul George did a nice job of who's a defensive guy of playing that. So, it comes down to right at the end, one or two decisions that usually decides the game. Unfortunately, at that point, it didn't go their way, but it stood out to me all the way through the game. You kept saying, is there going to be a blackout here? Is something going to happen? And they were able to navigate it beautifully until the end. A couple of decisions just took it away from them.
Jack, how were they able to sort of slow down Kawhi Leonard? He only had 13 tonight.
Got the ball out of his hands. Every time he touched it, he had a second guy in his lap. And I thought they did a pretty good job as well on George early in the game. They, if I'm not mistaken, at halftime, those two guys had taken combined less than 25% of the shots that the Clippers had taken. And, when you look at their numbers, they're high usage guys. So that's a Nick Nurse strategy. I mean, think of the NBA Finals against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. I mean, they're going to get the ball out of those guys' hands. I mean, we see it all the time. Look at them playing the Nets just a week ago with KD and Kyrie, getting it out of their hands. So to me, I think it just, again, the defensive scheme was excellent. I thought Marcus Morris played great tonight. I thought Reggie Jackson at moments played well. But hey, I'll live with that. Make those other guys beat me. But I thought the scheme was good. They made Kawhi a facilitator.
Sherm, do you like the Clippers going forward, or does it feel like they're missing something?
Yeah, they still kind of feel like there's holes in the roster right now. And it could be as simply as a guy like Serge Ibaka, who makes a big difference when he's on the floor and he's healthy. But in a game like this, you expected Kawhi to take over. You expected Paul George to take over. And that really didn't happen. Now, we know Kawhi to be a guy who, when the lights are the brightest, he can switch gears and make it happen. So we'll see when the playoffs hit. But there's no question that, at this moment right now, I wouldn't pick the Clippers as a favorite to win in the Western Conference. And I think that, when you look at them moving forward, they've got to figure some things out. But when we talk about the elite teams in the NBA, if you notice, we're not talking about the Clippers anymore. And there's a reason for that.
Jonesy, what do you think about the Clippers?
Look, I thought even dating back to last year, there was something missing. And I didn't know if it was a chemistry thing, a fit thing, a role thing, like who gets the ball, what are they running at the end, what's their defense like. On paper, potentially, they look like they could be NBA champions, but when they step out onto the floor, it's not being executed consistently all the time. We see Paul George with the ball in his hands a lot. So you're leaving it to him to make the decisions. And he has to remember that he's also got Kawhi Leonard on the floor with him. This is not somewhere where he has to make the decisions by himself or he has to carry the team. So I think that's something that is always tricky when you have two or three guys that are used to being the guy at the end. I mean, I as Jack said, I thought they did a good job of taking the ball out of Kawhi's hands. And even down the stretch, it was Reggie Jackson making plays. They weren't necessarily putting the ball in Kawhi's hands. And you think of Toronto's championship, it was clear who had the ball in his hands at the end and who was making the decision. It was Kawhi Leonard. What's it going to be in LA? And it's the same thing we talk about with the Brooklyn Nets. Although with Brooklyn, you have guys who can defer and will defer. And it's a question of, will Paul George do that? Will his ego let him do that at the end of the games?
Hey, Jack, obviously Pascal was great and Fred was just, terrific tonight, distributing and scoring as well. But, Jalen Harris had his best game as a Raptor, 11 points, 13 minutes, didn't miss a shot.
Yeah, and he plays super hard, and he's got size to him. He had some big plays. I mean, he took the ball strong under pressure to the basket and finished. Had a few big shots. End of the clock at the end of the second quarter. Malachi Flynn threw a great inbound pass to him in the left corner. He made the shot. Fred VanVleet had another sequence with him where he skipped it from right to left, and Jalen Harris relocated, got to a good spot, and spotted up beautifully. So he looks like a smart player, a tough player. And to me, I love both of these rookies because they're very serious. There's no, celebration and, me. It's all very mature. And I like that. And I think, again, these young guys break in on a roster with particularly guys like VanVleet and Lowry and even an Anunoby, guys like that. They're very serious, stoic, professional athletes. And these young men exhibit those same qualities, which I love.
Yeah. And Sherman Flynn becomes, rookie of the month, right? And then he says, I don't even think I played that well. Like, these are the kind of guys that you need, right? Going forward.
Yeah, he's not going to rest on his laurels and take the accolades and let them go to his head. He understands who he is and what he wants to be. And you love to hear that and see that about a young player who's trying to carve their way into NBA. And I think that has a lot to do with him as an individual, but also to what Jack was saying, the environment that he's in. The environment he's in right now teaches him to work, teaches him that the job is never done. You've got to continuously put the effort in if you want the results. It's no time to rejoice and celebrate. And I think he's completely bought into that. And it's a great marriage when the demeanor and the attitude of the player meets the organization and they mesh so well. So for a kid like that to say, look, I didn't even play well and I got Rookie of the Year, it sounds arrogant, but it's just a reality of a young man who expects a lot from himself and is not happy with how he played. And I love to see that.
Jonesy, just under a minute left in the show. What were your impressions of those two kids? And just
I love them.
Forward. Yeah.
We always talk about where you break in. Who do you land with? Are you one of these guys from a big time college program that's gone 4 years to, Duke or Carolina or UCLA or somewhere, and in 4 years you've lost 3 games, and then you come to the pros and you're the face of the franchise and you're getting beat up, you're developing. It can go sideways, and then you get late round picks like Flynn and Harris, and they come in and they're watching, like I said, VanVleet and Lowry and guys that have had their hands on the trophy, and they learn right away how to be professional. And it makes a big difference who you break in with and who your tutors are early on. And I like these two kids, and I can see this being a backcourt for the Raptors going forward in the future, as guys like VanVleet and Lowry start to pass the baton to them. So I like them. I like the way they play. They play hard. They're not afraid. And those show me a guy's heart, and I'll tell you what kind of player I'll have.
Yeah, great stuff, guys, as usual. I appreciate you doing this. Next up for the Raptors, Thursday night, back in Tampa. Big game against the Washington Wizards, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. You can click to watch our last episode or to subscribe to the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.